What is up, guys? Nathan here, and today I'm going to give you the top 5 super obvious tells that only amateur poker players give off. Hopefully you're not doing any of these. Let's jump right into it. Alright guys, so having played the game of poker professionally for over 10 years myself, and having been around a lot of online and live poker tables over the years, I can tell you these are the 5 things that I consistently see amateur poker players making, and it's very, very obvious to all semi-pros and pros. Let's get into it, counting down from 5 to 1. Number 5 is table captain status. Now, what do I mean by this? Guys, I'm talking about, we've all seen them. This is the person, the guy or the girl, who is constantly lecturing other people at the poker table about how they should play. They're quoting their odds. They're like, you only had, 15.8% to win there. You should have never been calling, and so on and so forth. We've seen them. They're on the online poker tables in the chat, and of course you're playing in a live poker game, then they're getting a little chatty at the poker table, giving their speech and so on. Guys, this is almost always the sign of an amateur poker player. I'm going to tell you that semi-pros and pros will never do this for the simple reason that they're just going to allow the bad players to keep making their mistakes. Why would you want to educate them? It makes 0 sense, like literally 0 sense. Let's just move on to number 4, and that is telling bad beat stories. This is something, once again, you will never see real semi-pros or pros doing this. Guys, amateurs absolutely love to talk about all of their bad luck recently. It's always happening to them, of course, and they're always looking to peddle off their bad beat stories to anyone who's willing to listen. For anyone who doesn't know, a bad beat story is just talking about how your aces got cracked 3 times in a row and so on and so forth. Guys, the problem is that nobody actually cares about this kind of thing, and I've kind of mentioned in these videos before that a lot of people get it confused. Poker is not a team sport. Poker is an individual sport, and so the problem is that most people really are only interested in their own results at the poker table. They don't actually care that your ace king lost to ace jack right before the final table. They're literally just sitting there nodding, and actually if it's another amateur, they're actually just waiting for their turn to tell you their bad beat story. So nobody's even actually listening to each other because nobody cares about the other person's bad beat stories. Guys, the bottom line is semi-pros and pros never partake of this silliness. And the simple reason why is because they are focused on the only thing that matters in poker, which is the long term. They're not obsessed and wrapped up in the results of individual poker hands. They know that is foolish. That makes no sense, because they know that their results in poker are predicated on playing thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and millions of hands. When you increase the sample size, eventually the math sorts itself out, the odds, the statistics, and so on, and you're going to get the results that you deserve over the long term. With all 169 hands in Texas Hold'em, by the way, if you don't know the best strategy to profitably crush small and mid stakes games, you can check out my free poker cheat sheet. That'll be the top link in the description below. But let's move on to super obvious tell number 3 that all amateurs give off, and that is that they buy in short. Guys, this is the easiest one to spot. Primarily what I'm talking about here, typically in cash games, there is a maximum buy-in. In a lot of online cash games, it is 100 big blinds. You'll often find deep stack cash games where the max buy-in is 250 big blinds. Those are unbelievably profitable. I'll probably make another video on those sometimes. But guys, amateurs will often buy in short. They will find instead what is the table minimum. Sometimes it's as low as 20 big blinds or 40 big blinds, and they will buy in for that amount, trying to employ some sort of short stack strategy that they heard about on the internet. And guys, the problem is, I don't want to throw all short stack poker strategies under the bus. I'm sure there is some merit to some of them, but there is a fundamental reality that all of these so-called theories fail to overcome, and that is the simple fact that when you buy in short, you are placing an artificial ceiling on your profit. If you win a big pot and double up, you can only win 40 big blinds. All pros and semi-pros never want to put themselves in this position. They already believe and know that they are the best player at the table. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a second here. So why would you ever want to artificially lower your potential? Guys, I understand the idea behind a short stack strategy. A lot of people, they want to protect their downside, of course. That's the the whole point, let's face it. But guys, real pros and semi-pros have supreme confidence in their own ability, and they also have the bankroll to be playing in that game, so they don't worry so much about protecting their downside. What they're focused on instead is having unlimited upside in their winnings, so they always want to have the maximum amount of chips, money in front of them at the poker table, and I think if you take this game seriously, you should as well. Alright guys, so the runner-up, number 2 for super obvious poker tell that all amateurs show off is physical tells. Probably not a surprise to anyone. Obviously this is more of a live poker thing, and really the biggest problem here, well actually there's 2 problems. Number 1, they give off the reverse of what they should be doing in terms of tells. I'm going to talk about them in a sec here, and also they're not consistent, which I'm going to discuss also. So the biggest thing is, guys, when an amateur is weak, typically at the poker table, this is when they become the big talker. They give you a speech, you know, just fold your hand, you don't want to call me, you're not going to call me, just stop wasting everyone's time. Guys, this is such a ridiculously see-through strategy, if you want to call it, that all pros and semi-pros see right through. When the amateur starts acting all big and tough, giving the speech and employing this false bravado strategy, they're almost always bluffing, they're weak, they just want you to fold, and vice versa. When they have the big poker hand, all of a sudden their hands get all shaky, they're quiet all of a sudden, they're not saying anything, and again, another dead obvious see-through tell. Guys, what you really want to be doing is actually doing the exact reverse in these situations, but I would say even better is just to be consistent with whatever you're doing. If you want to be the big talker at the table, go ahead, but do it when you got the big hand and when you're bluffing, and vice versa. If you're one of those quieter guys like me at the poker table who doesn't say a whole lot, isn't trying to lecture people and so on, you know, I just do that when I get the big hand and when I got the bluff, you know, so I'm consistent. I'm consistently one of the quieter players at the table, and that makes me difficult to read. They don't know if I have the big hand this time or if I'm bluffing. So bottom line, guys, if you're gonna give off physical tells at the poker table, which I would try to limit, to be honest, that's actually why I think that being quieter is often a better strategy. But if you're going to give off physical tells, be consistent. Do the same thing with both strong hands and weak hands. All right, guys, let's move on to the final number 1 super obvious tell of all amateurs, and this one you can see it everywhere, is they're always talking about other pros. Guys, they love to idolize, gossip, name drop, and also, of course, make fun of other poker pros. You see it all over the internet. You often see it in live poker games as well. And guys, this is almost always the sign of a non-serious poker player. And guys, the reason why is because real semi-pros and pros, they're focused on their own game instead. They're not focused on somebody else and what somebody else is doing, somebody else's strategy. For those of you guys who are subscribed here, watch a lot of my YouTube videos, my poker videos, you know that I almost never talk about famous poker pros. You see this in a lot of other YouTube channels and Twitch and stuff like that. They're always name dropping and saying some bad thing about that pro. And guys, I just really think the reason I don't do that stuff is because I think it's counterproductive. Throughout my entire professional poker career, I've always been focused on how I can improve my own game, and also developing the quiet confidence every single time that I sit down at the poker table that I am the best player at that table. I'm not focused on other people. I don't care what they're saying. I don't care what strategy they're using. I certainly don't care about some gossip on the internet about their personal life. Guys, the bottom line is I think that you'll find that a lot of people who take this game really seriously, they're just laser focused on their own game and how they can improve. They're not talking about other well-known pros and getting into all that jibber jabber. So guys, like and subscribe if you found this video helpful. Let me know what super obvious tells you've seen amateurs making at the poker tables. And once again, if you want to know my entire strategy to start smashing the small and mid stakes games, you can grab a copy of my free poker cheat sheet. That'll be the top link in the description below. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I will catch you next time.